This is for year 11 method. We're going to look at question 3 from exercise 2F. So these are questions which you can start to do using your CAS calculator. I'm going to do this by hand because I don't have a calculator on my computer. So I'll show you how to do it both ways. So a line has equation y equals mx plus 3. Okay, you notice that this equation, it's missing an actual specified gradient, okay? And we should be okay with that because, for example, in past questions, you would have had something like y equals 3x plus c, and you had an unknown c or a parameter c that you need to solve for. In this case, the unknown happens to be the gradient, so we're trying to solve for the gradient instead of solving for c. Okay, so we know that m cannot equal 0. That might be useful. Okay, so a second line perpendicular to this line passes through the point 0, 3. Okay, so we want to find the equation of the second line in terms of m. Okay, so let's put our thinking caps on. I know that's a lot of information, but it's definitely solvable. Okay, highlight the keywords perpendicular. Okay, so we have a second line that's perpendicular to this line. Okay, now if the gradient of my first line, if my m1 happens to be m, then my m2, remember the trick? Just because we don't have an actual number to work with doesn't mean we can't still use it. Okay, so remember the trick? We flip the original gradient. So my original gradient was m, so I flip it and I change the sign to become -1 on m. And we know it passes through the point 0, 3. So we want to find an equation. In terms of m. Okay, so great, because the gradient's in terms of m, that sort of satisfies condition. So y equals mx plus c, and our m happens to be m2 because that's a perpendicular line. So y equals, my second gradient is 1 on m x. Now I don't even need to sub in because I know that point is a special point because 0, 3 is a y-intercept. Okay, great. So it's a y-intercept. All I need to do is, I know my c value is 3. So snap bang, that's my answer. Now I'm not sure whether the book rearranges the equation into a different form, but this is how I do it. Okay, so if the answer is slightly different to that form, they've probably multiplied everything by m. So you get my equals -1 x plus 3. They may have rearranged it into this form. So I'm not sure which form the book uses. Both are acceptable. Okay, so on a test or a SAC, you won't be penalized. Now B is find the value of m if the second line passes through 1, -4. Okay, now given that we already know a point, I can actually solve for m. Okay, I can drag this equation across. We've got y equals -1 on m x plus 3. I know it passes through the point 1, -4, so I just solve it. So -4 equals -1 on m x, which is 1, plus 3, rearrange, so that subtract 3 from both sides, so you get -7 here, equals -1 on m, flip it, so you get -1 over 7 equals -1, negative m, so, and multiply both sides by negative, so you get m equals 1 over 7. Okay. Now, how do I do this on the CAS? All I need to do is do it like this. So you write the equation down. So you go y equals -1 on m x plus 3, given x equals 1, given y equals -4. Okay, now what do we do with that is we highlight. So highlight interactive, advanced, solve for m. Okay, interactive and solve for m. So that's basically how you approach questions like this. What this is doing is sub in x equals 1 and sub in y equals -4, and then rearranging and solving for m like we just did by hand. Okay, Now, obviously, questions like these, by hand is not superior. I would recommend you do it using the CADs first, then do it by hand, okay? I want to highlight that it's not always by hand that's preferred, because in Year 12, 2/3 of the methods course is by calculator, okay? So you'll be disadvantaged by spending too much time doing this by hand, okay? So hopefully that helps.